You want some bad news, Michael?
No.
What are you asking me?
You're the guru of the gray matter. I figured if anybody had it, you'd have the answer.
I can't give you any direction.
I think I'm going to have to change this channel. I'm sorry.
You're completely wrong.
I refuse to be wrong on 2 calls in a row.
Tell me I'm spot on or tell me I'm crazy as all get out.
I have no idea.
I have a 6-month-old, so we'll be raising him according to Dr. Ray.
Talk about being a winner.
So, you want my question?
You ain't making any sense.
You're absolutely right. I just needed confirmation.
So what are you going to do about it, Dawn?
I'm calling you.
Now, from the studios of Living Bread Radio Network in Canton, Ohio, the hometown of Mother Angelica, here's Dr. Ray.
A priest was looking for something when his friend walked in. The priest said, "I'm meeting some members of the laity and I can't find my collar." "Oh my," his friend said, "a lay date and a collar short." "All right, you ain't paying for this. Not directly, anyway. You're not going to get my best stuff. If you want my best stuff, you have to come to a presentation." Nice to have you here on The Doctor Is In. The variant of this Doctor Is In is Look Back Friday. The calls are up there, put up by the capable hands of my producer man, Andrew Kruchek, who edits them for our second time around consumption. And we will address them, well, you won't, I will, address them shortly here after my opening monologue. Now, why do we rerun some of these calls? Because I want to expand upon them. I want to say a few more things, and that could be various. Could be I want to explain the term used. I want to go in a direction I couldn't go when the call came in. I wanted to make another comment. I mean, all of this comes under the umbrella of I just want to talk more. Let's cut it through. Okay, my ulterior motive, I want to talk more. So we will do that. What is the hardest apology to make? I think it's when you didn't do something wrong, and it would be in your best interests or another person's best interests to apologize anyway. Give you an example. Some years ago, had a situation with some relatives. They were celebrating their 50th anniversary. After the meal, one of their daughters said, "We'd like to invite anybody who has some warm memories or comments to make about my mom and dad's durable marriage." Now, nobody was saying anything. It was quiet. You know, the tension was building. And I figured, I got to do something to break this tension. So I raised my hand. And I asked, "Aunt Grace, where did you guys get these rolls? These are some of the best rolls I ever tasted." Now, she being Italian, she laughed. Other people laughed. I thought I broke the tension. And I was going to be a hero, right? Not exactly. The next day, there was a voicemail call by their daughter who basically accused me of mocking their special moment. And it was not a gentle voicemail call. So I thought, well, my first impulse is to call back. I didn't do any such thing. Ease up. It was just a benign comment trying to help the situation, and your mom and dad laughed. That was my impulse. It's a good thing I didn't follow it. I called back. I said, "I'm so very, very sorry. I did not mean to do that, and I can see how it could be taken that way. Just please know I would never do anything to deliberately hurt your parents." And she said, Thank you, Ray. That's so very kind of you. I know you wouldn't do that." Not exactly. No. She used my apology to launch into more of how I ruined the special moment. Should I have not apologized because it was thrown back in my face? And by the way, the relationship that I thought we had that was somewhat warm for many, many years, it cooled quite a bit after that. Should I have not apologized? No, I decided it would be best to attempt to salvage the situation and to smooth over the relationship. It didn't work. Do I think it was the right thing to do? Yeah, I do. I do. Have you ever had situations where in your mind you didn't do anything wrong? Maybe you've got a daughter-in-law or a daughter or a son-in-law, and you've made a few remarks about something, whether it was the kid, nothing nasty. Do you think he needs a coat? It's kind of cold outside. You want to get a coat for him? Benign statement, right? Concern for the child's well-being. But no, that was interpreted as, don't tell me how to parent. I didn't ask for your advice. I know when my son's cold. Or anything that somebody takes offense at that you had absolutely no intent to cause offense. Do you apologize? You could stand and say, no, I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not apologizing when I didn't do anything wrong. It's too bad we're not taking calls today because I think this one would really, really provoke a number of calls. You don't apologize when you were wrong. If they think you were, and by apologizing, it would perhaps smooth out the relationship. The relationship could take quite a ding from their interpretation of this. And you apologize. Now, keep careful how you apologize here. You apologize kind of unqualifiedly. Is that a word? You don't say, well, I'm sorry, but I think you misinterpreted. No, see, now you're starting to qualify. Don't do that because you're saying your perception's off. Or, okay, I'm going to apologize, but I just don't think I did anything wrong. There you go again. It's like, just say, I'm so sorry. And if you want to say, I didn't mean to come off that way, or I didn't mean anything by it, please forgive me. I should have thought more before I talked. Whatever you want to say, don't qualify it. And don't be a politician. Mistakes were made. You're basically weighing whether it's better to take the blame for something in an effort to keep the relationship from deteriorating. I shouldn't have to do it. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not arguing that you didn't do anything wrong. I'm not saying you did. I'm simply saying you're making a judgment here. And the judgment is like what I did, which is I don't want her to think that I mocked their special moment. So I'm going to apologize. Now, I could have tried to clarify that I didn't mock their special moment. You misunderstood. I was trying to save their special moment. I could have done that. But she already had her mind made up about how to interpret this. And so I figured I better just do my best to say I'm sorry. Yeah, I took the hit. See, Dr. Ray, you did, but it didn't work. Yeah, it did work. You know why? Because I can rest easy knowing I tried. I get comfort in doing that. I tried to make amends. Now, how she interpreted my apology, I can't control that. I can only control whether I apologize or not. I can't control how she's going to take it. So, in that sense, that's the hardest apology. Hardest apology is when you think you didn't do anything wrong. Or maybe you're even convinced you didn't do anything wrong. But you know that the other person not only is going to react bad, but it could affect the relationship. Well, you know, then it ain't much of a relationship to keep if you have to do that to keep it. Yeah, but what if it's your mom? What if it's your brother? What if it is somebody in your close emotional social circle? Do you want to just go, hey, too bad, so sad. I didn't do anything. You want to do that? You got to make a decision here. Well, they never apologized to me. They wouldn't apologize to me in the same circumstances. You don't gauge your behavior by what they would do. I'm going to assume most of the people listening to me, all 126 of you, are trying to live as disciples of Christ. All right, then you do what you think is the best thing to do for the circumstance, independent of whether they would do it back. You don't gauge what you do by somebody who isn't as motivated to follow Christ as you might be. See, that's the problem. Your apology is going to be motivated by trying to smooth the relationship because you think that's a good thing to do and you think that's what Christ would want you to do. It's independent of whether they would do the same thing. That's kind of like the lowest common denominator. Well, I'm not going to do it because they don't do it. Well, yeah, is that? Hardest apology. Apologize when you don't think you're wrong. Dr. Ray.
Están escuchando al Dr. Ray, mi héroe y amigo español de corazón.
Doesn't that sound like some kind of family sitcom, 1968? Take off of my 3 sons, my 5 daughters, something like that. See what we got here. Rose is calling from New York. She regrets looking back on it. She regrets not homeschooling.
I'm struggling a lot because my oldest is in 4th grade, so I have a 4th grader, a 2nd grader, kindergartner, and I have a 2-year-old at home still. And I've really loved homeschooling them. But this year we moved to a new house, and we've only been in our new house for 3 weeks. It was like the week before school started, and I panicked, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not ready. I can't homeschool them this year. So I really fast enrolled them in school, and I regretted it pretty much like after I got at least 2 days to breathe. I was like, oh man, what did I do? But now I feel like I can't go back because everyone in my life has never supported me homeschooling, but they went along with it. And now that I panicked and put them in school, now everyone is kind of taking advantage of that. And they're like, oh, but you're doing the best thing now. You're doing the best thing for them. And I'm like, well, it wasn't not the best thing for them before. And my kindergartner is doing great, of course, because she's 5 and she's in kindergarten and loves it. But my 4th grader and my 2nd grader are crying every day. They hate going. They're having problems with the kids. They want to be home, and I'm really having a hard time because I'm like, I don't want them to go either, but I'm trying to get them to stick it out because I'm trying to be like,
Rose.
Well,
why?
They have to do hard things, right?
You haven't. Wait a minute. You haven't given me yet a decent reason why you wouldn't start to re-homeschool your kids. The only thing you said is you got a bunch of people in your family who go, oh, thank heavens, Rose. Oh, I was worried about the kids.
Yeah, they're pressuring me, and I don't know why I can't. I don't know why I can't. Why do I care so much? It's mostly my parents who are huge supporters of me, and I have had them. They're pretty involved in my life. We can walk to their house. We live so close. And they've always been involved and helpful, and my husband works a lot, so they've been kind of there for me, and they just are really they're really pushing back really hard, and I'm like, why do I care so much? I'm like an adult.
I got a question, Rose.
I don't get it.
Please don't take this wrong. What business is it of theirs?
I know. I don't know, Dr. Ray. That's what everyone keeps telling me, but I'm like, why do I care so much what they think?
Man.
In my mind, I feel like I'm going to make a wrong decision in the back of my mind, but I know that it's not the wrong decision, that they've been fine homeschooled up to this point. So I know it's not the wrong decision.
I got a couple of thoughts here, Rose. First of all, as a homeschooling mother, you didn't have to panic. You could have just delayed their education for a week or 2
I know.
before you got settled,
so
for
mad at
heaven's
myself.
sake. Well, that's okay.
I know, Dr. Ray, I was so mad at at myself for doing that. I'm like, I could have just waited a couple of weeks till the books came in.
That's
like,
exactly
why am I
right.
even caring that
All
much?
right, there you go. That's part of the theme here, Rose. You're overthinking stuff. Okay, that's one.
I am.
2, you made a decision and you said, what did I do? Why would I do that? Okay, change the decision. You could do that. We did that with my daughter. We sent her on to high school, and she didn't do well. We brought her home. Halfway through the year, brought her back home. Okay, that's what parenting is. You make decisions, and you go, that one's not working out too well. Let me change it. Okay, cool. 3, your parents are going to come around. And the reason they're going to come around is because they're going to see how sweet your kids are and how precious they are and how innocent they are. And if your parents are paying attention to the general culture, they're going to be protective of those little ones. And they're going to say, you know what? I didn't agree with what Rose was doing, but now I see the wisdom in it.
That's my worst thing, because it's like I can see the difference. I've done both now, right? Like, I've done co-op and I've done school 5 days a week, and I can see the difference in my children. I see the difference in those children, which I don't blame anyone for choosing school for their children, but my children are different. They just they're not weighed down with the world. They're not exhausted. They were just happy to go. And they just, I don't know, they didn't have to stand in line and, be told to be quiet and sit still. And I don't know, just basic things that people are like, oh, well, they have to do in life. I'm like, yeah. It's
not when they're 8.
When I was
not
a kid.
when they're 8.
Well, I know. I'm like, I figured it out when I was an adult. I didn't need to learn it when I was a kid. Doesn't mean that they won't be well-adjusted adults.
Rose, I do not know why you're not trusting your own instincts.
I don't know. I'm really frustrated with myself. And my husband, he's like, do whatever you're comfortable with. That's what he said.
Change
and I'm
it.
like, oh.
You're allowed.
I know.
I know what you don't want to do. You don't want to explain to your parents why you changed your mind.
Yeah.
Because they're gonna say, that you had to give it some time. They got to learn how to get along with all kinds of kids. They're gonna throw all the standard objections at you, and then that's okay, Rose. They'll do fine. They're gonna be fine. No, Mom, I really love homeschooling, and that's best for our family. End of story. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So many things I want to say about that. First of all, Rose panicked. She decided, I'm not ready, I'm overwhelmed, we just moved. That's the one thing nice about homeschooling. It can be at your pace. And with a 4th grader and a 2nd grader, most homeschoolers will tell you, we can get done in 2 hours what they would be at school for 6.5 hours doing. That's 1. 2, it all comes down to, what does Rose want as a mother? If she says, I want to keep my kids innocent for longer. Now, don't mishear me. I know the majority of you listening do not homeschool. That is your decision, and many, many kids do just fine navigating the peer group. But it makes it a little harder. I'm going to tell you, it does make it harder. So she says, I know, I want to have a little more childhood, and I want to spend more time with my kids. I don't want them coming home at 4 o'clock, and we got to worry about homework with the 4-year-old, and by the time we get done, it's 8 o'clock, it's all time bedtime, and I had a half an hour with them. Rose doesn't want that. She's taken a lot of heat. And homeschooling moms get this kind of grief. People can't simply say, well, that's your decision, and I respect it. No. You realize you're going to ruin your kids, don't you? You're going to socially stunt them. They're going to be weirdos. Well, that isn't what the research shows, by the way. Colleges actually gravitate towards homeschoolers. They like their work ethic, and they're pretty well educated. 2 of my children were homeschooled. Well, all of them were homeschooled except for one, all the way through high school. And those 2 both got perfect scores on their ACTs in verbal. They didn't in math because they took them as juniors and didn't have some of the coursework. But they still scored in the 30s. So given that, the homeschooling is not deficient in its academics. except maybe some of the sciences, but you can get all kinds of help with that. But most people don't homeschool through high school. They homeschool through 8th grade. Another thing for Rose, I think she wants approval. She doesn't want people constantly questioning her, and she doesn't yet have enough confidence to say, this is what I want to do. This is what I believe is best for me and my children. I don't have enough confidence to say that yet. The other thing, too, is she said, and she was using this as a justification, she said, well, they cry, they don't want to go. That's not going to be a reason acceptable in anybody's mind. As a matter of fact, they're going to interpret that as, you see what you did, Rose? School is a normal aspect of childhood, and you've made your 2 children so afraid of being socialized and being around other kids. I'm sure that's one of the arguments she's going to get hit with. And Rose doesn't have to defend it. She can simply say, no, I think we had such a wonderful homeschooling experience, they miss it. Homeschoolers talk about the S word, socialization. What a cliche. What is socialization? Socialization is learning how to get along in life with a solid moral system. Is a 32 kid environment in the 4th grade a better socializer than mom and dad home full-time? Well, in this case, mom homeschooling full-time. What is socialization? Is it getting along with others? Is it manners? Is it morals? Is it self-confidence? Well, that's the parent's job. That's not a bunch of other kids the same age job. Rose says, I want to be with my kids. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not stunting your kids. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. But I will tell you this. Of the parents that I talk to who say, my whole goal is to raise citizens for the kingdom of heaven, well then homeschooling, if you can do it, go for it. Because there's a lot more ways to homeschool now than there used to be. Those of you who homeschooled 25, 30 years ago, you pretty much on your own. Not anymore. Not anymore. There are all kinds of online curricula. There are just boatloads of helps out there. Seton homeschooling is one. You can get into co-ops 2 days a week. Get into a co-op where you're other people homeschooling. You can have tutors come in. We had tutors come in. At one point, my wife was homeschooling 10. I watched. I thought she was doing a great job. I always applauded. Always did.
This is Life News Radio. I'm Jim Anderson. The federal HHS Civil Rights Office is investigating 13 states that demand employer abortion insurance for possible violations of the Weldon Amendment. Despite Biden administration attempts to negate the intent of Congress, the Weldon Amendment bars discrimination against those who, in conscience, don't want to fund abortion in health care. Author Paul Ehrlich is dead at 93, and his population bomb prophecies proven spectacularly wrong. His popular disdain for people avoided any ideas of economic prosperity, and he speculated about using basic foods or drinking water to sterilize large populations. This is Life News Radio. Remember to pray. When you pray for civil order, when you pray for Congress, when you pray that legislators will open their minds and reject assaults on the dignity of the human person, your prayer is part of a culture of life. We wage a spiritual battle through prayer. Pray for a culture of life. Speaking at a religious liberty meeting in D.C. earlier this week, a Trump HHS official is offering more hope for right to conscience. Health Service Admiral Dr. Brian Christine says medical students coerced by the medical establishment into questionable procedures should stand strong at their institutions and reach out to proper authorities. And he says parents whose children are denied mental health care for gender dysphoria should know he is making sure parents are not intimidated. Dr. Christine says the science behind sex-rejecting procedures is very thin. It's not substantial, and the best way to treat these children is not with castrating chemicals or mutilating surgeries. For pro-life headlines delivered to your email address daily, sign up at lifenews.com. This has been Life News Radio.
One more question that people ask me a lot. Do you always carry a picture of your wife and children in your wallet? Yes, I do. I have a picture there. It is to remind me why there's no money in that wallet. Okay, this is Look Back Friday. Let's take a previous call right away, quick. Daniel from California. Device withdrawal.
The question I have is, and I appreciate it, especially this, is that with my nieces and nephews, with their tablets, they're constantly on this. What do you recommend in terms of just helping them to guide them away from these tablets and these algorithms, Doctor?
Are they on them at your house?
Yes.
What would happen if you said everything goes in the basket by the door when you come in, you can pick it up when you leave?
Amen. It seems like when I take the tablet away, it's like taking away their phones are indifferent. It's so, but I find it's just now, Dr. A, it's encompassing all of their time. And I talk to my nieces, their parents, is that we need to take these tablets away and spend time to open a book and read and read scripture. But however, these tablets are just all encompassing and just kind of keep these kids, in tune.
They ain't going to listen to you, Daniel. You've told them this, right?
I figure that. I get in arguments with my nieces and nephews over it.
Right. The only place you have leverage is your house.
Yes, sir.
What would happen if you said, I really enjoy my nieces and nephews, so when they come here, I want to have any kind of face-to-face time with them. The rule now is all devices, including phones, go in the basket by the door and to be picked up when you leave. What would happen if you did that?
I am sure immediately the children would spout, no, I want my tablets, and plead to their parents to get them back.
How old are these kids?
They are ages 6, 7, and 9.
Oh! I thought you were going to say 14, 16, 6.
No, Dr. Day, they're 6, 7, and 9, and they're just engulfed in these tablets, and these algorithms just keep them on it for hours, sometimes at a time.
At your house?
At times it could be at my house, but the majority it's at their homes.
You can't do anything about their home because there is something in the parents allowing this. Whether it's laziness, whether it's as long as they're occupied, they're not fighting, whether it's that's what kids do nowadays, whether it's, well, they're just playing games, that's all they're doing, whether it's the new form of entertainment, we had TV, now they have their device, whatever their rationale is. My experience is, and I can't predict this from your family, but my experience is at some point when these kids are 11, 12, 13, 14, the parents are going to go, why are they like that? And they will not point to the devices as a huge contributor to these kids not wanting to talk to their parents, not playing outside, not even having that many friends, watching their grades go into the tanker. They will not connect those dots. So again, if you said that's our rule in our house, would the parents not come over?
No, I think they would come over. Actually, that's a good point. I think they would come over. We're very close. They would come over.
Would they be insulted, like you're commenting on their parenthood?
Yes.
And if you said, I just want to enjoy the company of my nieces and nephews, and I can't when they're on their devices, would they see any wisdom in that?
Doctor, I pray, but sometimes I struggle with it because I figure sometimes those tablets are just like a third parent. Where they'll put it in, and then once the child asks for it, they'll just give it to them, and then it's over. So they don't have to deal with if they're fussing or if they're creating things. But again, it is a huge issue, and I see it not only with my nieces and nephews. I see it with a lot of the young youth in the programs that I participate in with the youth programs, that these phones and these tablets are all encompassing their times.
They're treacherous. They're absolutely treacherous. And even in the very small percentage of time that the kids don't do something inappropriate with the phone, it changes their whole social demeanor. It changes their ability to connect with people. It changes their personality. It changes their interests. The question for you, Daniel, is can you enforce that rule with those little ones when they come in? If you explain to their parents, I just want to have a chance to interact with them in some way spontaneously, and that can't happen if they're on their phones. And the parents will accept that. Will that be?
Yes. I'm going to do that, Dr. Day. One thing I did do was I went up to the mountains, way up high into the Sierras, where we had no connectivity, and that was great. We spent an entire day without any type of device, and we got to play with the kids, fish with the kids, and talk. So that was a very lightning thing, is to get them outside of the scope of any internet or any type of connection to television or the world.
Isn't it interesting, Daniel, that we have to say, wow, what a unique experience where we actually talk to each other. Whoa, was that cool or what? Okay. My speculation is that the 6, 7, and 9-year-old are going to be bored if they have to go to Uncle's house and the parents are talking or whatever the parents are doing, that the kids are thinking, I'm not being included in this. In other words, there will be pressure to entertain the 6, 7, and 9-year-old rather than allowing them to entertain themselves. However, Uncle wants to set that up. That'd be my guess, because it sounds like, well, this keeps them occupied. And otherwise, what would they do? I got in trouble once, way back, when I talked about the hyperstimulation of so many devices and so much computer and so much video game. I got in trouble because the guy was giving a workshop on ADHD, and he said, absolutely not. ADHD is a neurological problem. I said, well, yeah, I'm not arguing that there are neurological reasons for some people's inability to attend or inability to control impulses. Okay, we'll acknowledge that in the extreme. But that doesn't mean it can't be confused by when I am on a steady diet of something that keeps me second by second stimulated and entertained and rewarded, that other stuff by comparison is a drag.
I know not to ask any questions. Don't worry. I understand.
All the advice, none of the bills. Come in. The doctor is in.
The doctor will see you now.
When I first started into psychology, I had a young man that I had heard of as I was consulting the schools who committed suicide. He was 13, and I remember commenting to some of the folks that, wow, that's really, really young. That's almost not heard of that young, 12, 13 years of age committing suicide. There's a certain protective mechanism in kids that at that age, suicide is really very rare. Well, unfortunately, as our culture has been so assaultive on the well-being, the emotional, spiritual, moral well-being of young people, that age, unfortunately, it's not quite so rare. Let's talk to an anonymous female from New Hampshire.
This little boy came into my custody because years ago I used to run a food pantry, and his mother was begging for food, and she was still pregnant with him, and they had a 2-year-old also. And the father was being abusive. They weren't married. There was like 30 years difference. So then the mother left, and the father had the baby, the 2 children, and I thought he was a good man, and I was trying to help him out and stuff and giving him extra food. But come to find out, 8 years later, the boy was 8 years old, I kept in contact with both boys and the dad. The dad had to go in for surgery, and he almost passed away, and we got the kids. And nobody had knew how bad they were physically abused. It started coming out slowly while dad was sick. But in the meantime, I've had him a little over a year. He's such a kind-hearted, sweet little boy until he gets upset and angry and has his flashbacks of what had happened. And in the meantime, I go to church, and they were taught a little bit about church. And so I've been teaching them more. He's been asking to be baptized and wants to know a lot about God. So I took him to Sunday school last week and stuff, but he's been severely abused by his dad, so much so that he was told he would be killed and all this other stuff. Come now, he's having these, sorry, Lucy, stop. He's been having these hallucinations where he's in hell with dad, and he has a knife, and dad told him he killed all these people, and now he has to go kill his brother and me and my husband, and he says he doesn't want to, and he asks for God. Now, this is what he hears in his head. So he was shivering one day.
How old is he, Mom?
He will be 10 next month.
You've had him for how long?
And I've had him for a year. His mother left when he was a couple days old, and his dad raised him, but took him to different houses and stuff, and he was abusing those houses as well. My dad was abusing those people. So this is the first real home he's ever had.
Are you worried about his threats, or do you think these things are just tormenting thoughts that he doesn't want at all?
I don't know if they're tormenting thoughts he doesn't want is all. I do have him in counseling. He is on medication. He has tried to kill himself a number of times.
Yeah. Wait a minute. This little 9 to 10-year-old boy has already had suicide attempts?
Yes, he's had 4 since I've had him. And
my. That is so rare for a kid that young. What kinds of attempts?
He's trying to hang himself. He ran away from his therapist, ran in the middle of the street trying to get hit by cars. He also has a 12-year-old brother that's also had suicide attempts, too, since they've been in our custody. They'd rather die than go back to their dad. And the little boy keeps saying, I'd rather die because I don't want to remember this anymore. So now that he's been going to church, and he met one of the church members, he met one of them doing something else because we put him in baseball because he loves baseball. And he wants to know more about God. He wants to get baptized. And he's getting angry now with the priest because the priest says he's going to wait 2 years. So he's not angry. He's just like, why? I want God now. I want God to save me. I love God. He really does love God. He listens to music. He sings to all God's music all the time. That's what he's into.
Is the therapist helping? Is the therapist helping him to embrace God?
Yeah, his therapist is whatever. She told him whatever makes him coping skills and makes him feel better. Just go ahead and do that. And believe it or not, her uncle is a priest, but she's not heavily into the church. It's just kind of like God's coming everywhere around this child. And I just want to know, do I keep going and bringing him to church every day and pushing this, or am I?
Well, why? If he wants to go, why are you doubting yourself?
That's just the way I am. I want to make sure. I love this boy so much. He calls me Mom. He calls me Dad. I've loved him ever since the day I met him. I just want to make sure I'm doing everything right. I don't want to do anything wrong. I don't want to hurt this boy in any way.
Obviously, with this kind of history, for me to comment on that would be just a wild shot in the dark. But it would seem, if he's asking you, please help me, I'd like to be closer to God, and God is, for him, is not a coping mechanism, it's a reality. So whatever you can do to introduce him to God, maybe you can take him to adoration with you. Maybe you could read him Bible stories. You could do those kinds of things to let him see that Jesus will protect him, and Jesus will take away these fears And to the degree that you can reassure him he's not going to go back with his dad, that's not going to happen, so he doesn't even have to worry about that at all, that would be a lot that you can do.
Yeah, the only bad thing is his dad keeps trying to get him back, and we have to go back to court every 2 or 3 months. They haven't arrested Dad yet. They're working in the process of doing that.
I think to the degree that you can reassure him that it is highly unlikely, as you understand things, that Dad is going to get custody again, that he's safe with you. He is safe here, and that how much you love him, and for him to try to hurt himself would just break your heart. And I'm sure he loves you and he feels safe with you, so that if he knows how, when he thinks about hurting himself, how that hurts you, maybe, as you say, his sensitivity will kick in and he'll say, well, even if I think about doing this, I don't want to do that to Mom. So that'll help a lot. But I, if you're asking me if there's a problem with sending him to church or going to church with him, if he wants to, I can't see any downside to that. She called them hallucinations. She said he was having hallucinations. Probably not. That's not what it was. All right. There's nothing indicating what she was saying, that this young man was having any kind of psychotic episodes. It's probably either visual flashbacks and not even visual, just in his mind, flashbacks or worries. He's calling them that. It was worries. If I go back, this is going to happen again. So what she can do is she can really emphasize hard, like I said, you are perfectly safe here. You are with me, and you're not going to go back. I know I kind of said, to the degree that you can comfort him. No, I think I would say you're not going to go back. You're safe here. That's one. Second, if he's so curious about God, if he wants to know so much about God, maybe she's done this. She didn't bring it up, obviously, but I bet she did, but I'll reinforce it. Reinforce to him how much God loves him, how much God would never want him to hurt himself. Never, ever, ever, ever want him to hurt himself. Because he is so special. He's a child of God. And God is going to take care of him and protect him. And part of the reason that God is doing that is because he's with you right now. I would start the rosary with him. I would go to church with him. I go to adoration with him. I would let him see that he has security, safety, love, knowing more about God. Now, did you notice what she was talking about? She said she wasn't sure. I don't want to do the wrong thing. So she was even second-guessing herself about taking him to church because of his history, because his history was so ugly. And by the way, they pointed to the physical abuse of Dad. But anytime you've got that kind of physical abuse, you're going to have all kinds of emotional problems. I don't mean the kid. I mean the dad. You're going to have an unstable existence. It sounds like it was neglectful. So it was just pathetic parenting from what she described. And it was punctuated by getting physical. Way too physical. It wasn't any kind of discipline. It was just reacting because he was upset or frustrated or whatever. I'm speculating, but that'd be my guess. So because of that, this young man hasn't been given the kind of unconditional, warm, socializing existence that he would have had if he were in a good home or even in her home. Well, I shouldn't say even in her home or in her home, because she sounds like a very warm, caring lady. That said, she can expect that he's going to have a lot of this reverberating stuff. And what she'll do is she'll hold him and she'll say, you're safe here. You are totally safe here. This is not something you even have to ever think about again. And we're going to go to church and we're going to make sure that God protects you. And I would pray out loud with him. I'd say, dear Lord, protect my little son here. Make sure that he feels safe and secure and he knows how safe he is in your arms. I would also, for example, introduce him to the idea of a guardian angel. I might even have an angel picture put up in his room just to let him know he's got all kinds of protection. You know, when I was in the evangelical world, we called it a hedge of protection. Dear Lord, give us a hedge of protection. Okay, you can co-opt that evangelical term. But just the key is here to make him feel safe, to make him sure as best you can that he's not going to go back. It's not happening. That the kid is on the edge. What if? We got to take that what if away from him. He'll buy it. He's probably just like 10, so therefore. But these suicide attempts. I didn't ask this. I should have. Did he do them when he was with Dad, or has he done them since? And if he's done them since, he said, "I'd rather die than go back." Well, son, you're not going to go back, so therefore you don't have to make that choice. Dr. Ray. Nowhere near enough time to take another look-back call, but there is always, even if it's 6 seconds, enough time for me to talk some more. The suicidal ideation, attempts, and tragic follow-throughs have skyrocketed among young people, teens, and young adults in recent years. It is now the second leading cause of death in young people, late teens, early 20s, after accidents. Why is this? One of the reasons is, and I think this is what now mom has in her favor, is that where there is a lack of religion, where there is a lack of belief in God, a lack of instruction about God's ways, those attempts, that ideation goes up. Secular research says this is not Catholics conducting this research. This is secular research. Religion is a force for stability, emotional contentment, if you will. So as this young man wants to embrace God, he said, look, I want to know about these things. She can just tell him all about God. Get some good Bible stories, get some things to read with him. Absolutely. Because the closer he gets to God in his little mind, the less likely he's going to feel threatened by all the instability that he's known in his young little life. Poor little guy. Sounds like his brother, I don't know if she has custody of him too. Sounds like his brother was going through kind of the same turmoil, which wouldn't be a surprise. So that said, she's got a lot going for her. And I think she continues to do it, this little guy will stabilize out. And it sounds like his temperament's in his favor too, because she's talking about he's a kind of a sensitive guy. He's a thinker, and he likes to get close to God in his mind. He's not resisting the idea of a God. What you could do if you say, "Where's God in my life?" Right? If that's what God the Father's like my father, I don't want too much to do with him. Doesn't sound like he's heading in that direction. Thank you for joining me here on this Look Back Friday. Dr. Ray Guarendi, good Lord permitting, we'll see you on Monday. Walk with God. That is your best walk, and I'll tell you what, it is a psychologically, emotionally, morally stabilizing walk.
For information on Dr. Ray's presentations, books, and CDs, visit drray.com and follow him on Facebook and Instagram. The Doctor Is In is a co-production of Ave Maria Radio and EWTN Radio and carried across the EWTN Global Catholic Radio Network.